If you want Colts talk all year long, you're in the right place.
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown. He's going to fire upfield. It's broken up. Tipped and intercepted by the Colts.
This is the official Colts podcast, giving you an updated look at what's new with the Horseshoes.
Colts have it. Interception. 2 seconds left, and the Colts are going to win.
In the Indiana Union Construction Industry radio studio, let's get the podcast started.
Yes, hello, welcome again to another episode. This is the official Colts podcast, brought to you by WinBet. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for coming back here in the offseason. We're stockpiled full of football talk again today as the Colts begin today their 3-day minicamp. I'm Matt Taylor. Larra Overton's back today. Casey Vallier is here. Jeffrey Gorman, JJ Stankovitz, they're out. They're out on vacation. At least JJ is. I don't know where the heck Jeffrey is, but
where is Jeffrey ever?
Where in the world is Jeffrey Gorman?
Guys, I feel like it's gonna kind of be this way until we get to training camp, because this is the time of year where everyone tries to cram in those trips, those vacations, that additional family time, because you finally have a very slight lull. Like, everyone asks, and I know you guys get asked this all the time, what do you do in the offseason? It's like, we haven't had an offseason yet. Like, that's kind of like one of the biggest misconceptions. But then finally, when you get to kind of mid-June to late July, you get a little bit of time to work a few things in and catch your breath a little bit, recharge, get rejuvenated, because end of July, when we get to Westfield, it's a full sprint until the end of the season.
It's over, man. Tell the kids you love them, Casey. Take a picture of your wife. Maybe you can look at it in your wallet. You can stare at the moon and wondering if she's staring at the same moon you are, right?
Is this the same sky? We in the same time zone? What's going on? But no, that's what I always say. I mean, I'll see you guys in February. That's about how it is. And then when I see you in February, it's very minimal, and then the combine rolls around, and then it's all draft.
I gotta go to work. Hang on.
I mean, they're literally. That's what I talk to. It's funny when I ask the players. I'm like, so what are you gonna do in your time away? And they're like, I mean, do we really get that much time away? I mean, you just don't.
What are you talking about?
What is this summer? Because you got to train, because when you report to camp, you got to be ready to go.
You're still training, and then for the new guys, for whether it's free agents who have come in or it's the rookies, they're like, I got to get settled. I got to find a house, got a place to live. I got to move my family. They're doing all of those things too. Like, I finally can address my life.
Yeah.
Because for the rookies, they went through their entire collegiate season, start training for the combine, go through the draft, and then come in here. So that's the group that I really feel like, man, they need this time, because they've been hammering since August. So
I've got two things. I know we're going to talk some football today, but I got two things, Larry. Did you watch Wheel of Fortune?
Recently?
Growing up?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it
Big
part
fan.
Is it part of your routine?
Yeah.
Pat Sajak.
I know, retiring.
You see this?
I was always a big fan of Vanna, though. Like, my mom and I would turn on, because it's like, what gown is she going out with today?
Yes.
But yeah, of course. So when I was younger, I hated Jeopardy. I was big on Wheel of Fortune because it was much easier to understand, and Jeopardy made me feel stupid. Now, I still feel stupid, but I probably watch Jeopardy more frequently than Wheel of Fortune. But I love it. Yeah, I'd like to buy a Val, Pat.
Yeah. Sajak, Casey, retiring at age 76. Been on the show since 1981.
What a run.
Incredible.
Upcoming season is his 41st and final season.
Now, you guys might not know the answer to this. I know that his daughter filled in for Vanna when Vanna was out.
I saw that.
Is Vanna retiring as well?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
Okay, because I was wondering if Vanna...
And she's been on the show since 82,
right.
I read.
Like, I didn't know if Pat was leaving, if Vanna kind of exited stage left too, and then Pat's daughter would just kind of step in the role, so there was still that connection.
I feel like that you can't lose both the pillars of that franchise within the same year, so you probably, I would imagine that there's some sort of like gentleman's agreement where where it's like, I'll go first,
little handshake under the table.
we'll groom the next person.
I just don't want to do this anymore.
We'll groom the next person to come in, right? So like Vanna can help kind of bring the other person along, maybe, because I feel like if you overhauled the show at once, there'd be just too many people with too much nostalgia to be like, there's too much change. I'm not ready for this. What are you guys gonna do next? Is the wheel gone next?
Right.
And it's just gonna be like the tire of
and Pat Sajak, there's been some what's on that show over the course of time, and Pat, he's so nice about it. It's like, ooh, no help there, you know, and we're all just screaming, we're all just screaming at our televisions. But I haven't watched Wheel of Fortune in a long, long time. But growing up, I used to stay a lot with my grandparents in the summertime.
Oh, it's a solid grandparents.
Yes, and we watched The Price is Right. We watched soap operas. I mean, I would just swim and hang out and ride bikes all day. But yes, Pat Sajak and the Wheel of Fortune was definitely part of their lives.
Yep, I agree.
During the summers, me and my brothers, we would stay with my grandparents, and we would always get there when my dad was going to work. So it was like 6 in the morning. We're rolling. We're tired. And my grandparents had very minimal channels that we could ever understand, but the Game Show Network was what. So we would start watching the Game Show Network at about 6 o'clock on. So we had you'd had a little bit of Wheel of Fortune, but you had so much like Press Your Luck and all that. So
Hollywood Squares.
Oh yeah, I mean all of that. I mean that's
all the shows that Jeffrey was on back in the day.
Exactly. That's why I'm like every time he says he was on a game show, I'm like I'm sure I've seen the episode because I watched.
Oh, you're that guy?
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the other thing I want to get into, Casey, I know you're a baseball guy. We talked about this. Larry, did you hear about John Sterling, the play-by-play guy, the radio play-by-play guy for the Yankees? Take a listen.
Now the 3-2 swung on, a pop foul back here.
Ow.
Oh. Ow. Ow. It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far. That foul ball actually hit me. It kind of glanced off my forehead.
My forehead.
I took one for the team.
The Yankees win. That's the only thing about.
Ow. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow. Ow. Wait.
Ow.
Foul back here.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
And he takes a shot, too.
Yeah.
Like it bounces off the
Is there
microphone.
video? Is there
Boom.
Oh, there's
video?
video.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they got him cammed up on
His
the
glasses
during the game.
fall off. And,
We put a GoPro on Matt Taylor during some games.
Yes.
And we've done that, and it has been incredible. I don't think we'll ever have. I hope you never
I
have an
doubt
opportunity.
football's
If
coming
there's
that
a
way.
football coming up to you
That's
in the
the
radio
only thing
booth,
about football I don't like is that there's no opportunities for a shank punt to come up to the radio booth and just smoke me between the eyes.
That
Okay.
would be the worst shank ever. I mean,
that would be really bad.
really.
So you guys know obviously you guys do drive.
Ow.
You guys drive past it every day. The golf course that's in front of the
Yeah,
complex,
yes.
right? And obviously players and staff will go out there on a nice day and all of that. I was leaving the other day and I parked out front because the parking lot is out of control lately.
Yes,
I don't know what is happening around here.
I'm with you.
But I was leaving and I heard this almost like a grinding noise coming from the top of my car as I was trying to pull out. So I make a U-turn and come back in. I found a golf ball on top of my car, on like my roof rack. So we were inspecting it. Yeah. So it's like, man, did somebody shank one really badly?
Wow.
Or did someone just put it there? I don't know.
It's a good thing it was on the top of the car, not through a window.
Just seriously.
But
Seriously.
I was
no
about-
longer parking by the golf course.
Just avoid at all costs.
Speaking of shanks.
Casey, I was about 6 feet away from Pam Oliver when she got
Oh.
hit pretty good by Chandler Harnish in the preseason game.
Yes.
You got to tip your cap to Pam because she handled it so
Yes,
well.
she did.
But
Yeah.
Wait, didn't Gorman get hit by something once from Peyton? Didn't Peyton throw something?
He had a ball bounce off of his head.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't.
It was during
of
a live shot.
A live shot
yeah,
with Tony
just
Dungy.
a little nudge, little dropping of a pigskin on top of Jeffrey's head as he's throwing it to break from halftime. You can Google that, I think. I think that's on YouTube.
And watching Gorman's reaction is awesome.
Thank you very much, Don Fisher.
Come on, man.
Oh, my.
I'm going to get you back so hard. Wait a minute. No, I'm not, because you're Peyton Manning.
You're Peyton Manning.
Right?
Amazing.
We are loaded up today. We're going to talk, as we said, minicamp is this week, Tuesday through Thursday. We'll talk about what the Colts need to get accomplished and how they can solidify some things going into camp. And we'll break out a round of hook and lateral with some big picture Colts topics wrapping up their last week of the offseason workout program. And, of course, again, how they can catapult themselves with some momentum going into training camp. But the Colts practicing today for the first time. This is mandatory. Right, so we have graduated from OTAs. We're into minicamp, so it's veteran mandatory minicamp. And after this week, Casey, Colts players and coaches, they will not reconvene all together until late July at training camp in Westfield. As we just said, that's going to be here before you know it. So where have you seen the Colts make strides during OTAs to this point? What is sticking out to you to this point?
I've been kind of thinking about that over the last couple of weeks because I really haven't. Nothing has stood out, and I think it's just because
Nothing?
not nothing, but there's just so much. There's so much new to everything. Whether if you're talking offensively, I mean it's an entirely new staff. playbook, a lot of new, pieces all around. So I think the biggest thing I can take away is just the chemistry aspect. You're hearing guys talking about the newness of the offense, getting familiar with the coaches and all that. I would think that is right now the biggest thing I've seen the strides. We talk about this in camp in, a month and a half. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot that I can answer on this, but I think right now it's kind of just that chemistry, getting to know how does the ball come out of Gardner Minshew's hand. I think all of that is kind of what you're learning right now, if that makes sense. I know that's a very boring answer, but I think that's where I am on this.
I do think you're seeing a really strong dynamic form among this group, and it's a group that has changed quite a bit in the last year. And I think that Shane Steichen has done a great job of incorporating some off-the-field things as well, like, in how he's conducted meetings. He's had a number of different speakers come in. He's planned some off-field activities for the guys. They all went out. The entire team went out and went bowling one day. Like, hey, canceling practice, we're going to go bowl.
Yeah, we talked about Casey's 240 in college last week.
Wow.
Yeah, he bowled a 240.
Really sad I missed that, Casey.
On a duck pin bowling lane, wasn't
it?
Was there a shank bowling ball? Because that could be pretty dangerous.
Just find the groove. Go up to North Manchester, Indiana. Find the bowling alley there and just find the groove, and you will set all kinds of personal records as far as your bowling game. Anywhere else?
You know what gets me excited.
Yeah. It's only one particular place in America.
Just one place. That's where I can bowl well.
No, but I think you're both right. You're also trying to see, where Anthony Richardson is, and he's coming along. He's coming along very nicely, and I think you can definitely, just body language-wise, sense his comfortability now, way more now than really at the beginning of May, and hopefully you can say the same thing about the end of August compared to the beginning of that month. So, and Casey, you talked about this, I think, last week on the last word, and you're so spot on. Kylan Granson, his availability, his playmaking ability. I know it's OTAs,
regardless of who he's catching passes from. It's everybody. He's an equally consistent no matter what.
And so I know it's not full pads, and, we say this every year about guys and things like that, but you're really excited about consistency for him and maybe more importantly, consistency at quarterback for him. And that obviously pertains to the rest of the skill players on offense. Just get some continuity at quarterback, build up some real chemistry. But going along with that, it's no one's fault, but I am a little bit disappointed that we haven't seen more of Richardson with Pittman and Downs and Woods and Pierce because of injuries and ailments and playing it cautious and doing the right thing in the OTA period. Again, it's nobody's fault, but I think with Minshew and Richardson, those guys not being able to spend a ton of springtime time on task with their top weapons, we'll see if that changes this week, but that has been one thing that I would have liked to have seen more is just availability with guys with new quarterbacks.
And that's, we're talking about it and it's in June. It's not a huge deal, but I completely agree. And that's one of the things we talked about last week briefly was it's not a detriment. It's not like oh boy, this is a problem, but you would like to see just because everything's new. Anthony Richardson hasn't thrown a pass to any of these guys. Gardner Minshew hasn't either, so when you start thinking about reporting to training camp, you get a month or so, but really everything moves so fast. So all of a sudden you blink and you're playing meaningful games, so you want to get as much possible repetition and chemistry with those guys as you can.
Well,
so
and I'm sure, too, that they will find time to do those types of things. That's the thing is, they will get together on their own. Guys always find time. They'll get together. They'll coordinate schedules, especially when you think about prior to this period of time, prior to the draft, you had Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew were already training at the same facility in Jacksonville. So, maybe a couple guys, when they are feeling 100% or close to 100%, maybe they go there and everyone's working out together for 3 or 4 days or whatever it happens to be. So you will see guys initiate that and have that time together. And just one quick thing with Anthony and the time that we've been able to see him work with a different array of weapons. In the days that he's had off days where he's struggled, he's bounced back and recovered really well. And I think that's one of the encouraging things too, is there have been days when he's looked incredibly sharp and, it's all of the exciting things that you wanted to see, you're seeing. And then in the days when he has had some challenges, he's received the coaching really well. He's been incredibly receptive and then also just recovered really well. And the next day, come back really strong from that. And that's what you want to see from a developing rookie.
All right. Lastly, on the minicamp camp primer, Casey, what areas do you want to see solidified? Some areas, either in-game areas or roster areas. Give me some areas that you want to see somewhat of that cement poured now going into training camp that needs to be on good footing, if you will, going into the summer break.
Well, I'm going to stick with the secondary. I mean, you think about what you lost at corner. You got Brandon Faison going back to the Raiders. You trade Stephon Gilmore. You bring in 3 guys in the draft who are going to see most likely some substantial playing time. But really, you've got Kenny Moore, Dallas Flowers. Juju Brents is going to have a big role. But when you look at just the corners and then also even at safety, I know that Julian Blackmon is kind of slotted in to play a little bit more strong safety right now with kind of Nick Cross as that guy right behind him. So Rodney Thomas kind of manning that free safety spot. So I look at the secondary of this defense. I think that is where I really want to see, it kind of solidify just so that you know what to expect and where it's going to be. But that's definitely kind of where I have my eyes kind of looking.
What about that offensive line, Larra? I think you're seeing that offensive line come together in a good way. I think everybody is really excited about the communication and the new voice, if you will, from Tony Sperano Jr., who's now the offensive line coach here with the Colts. You certainly don't write anyone's name down in Sharpie at those uncertain positions. I'm talking about left tackle and right guard. But that unit is off to a really good spring, I think.
Well, it's kind of the opposite from the receivers, where all of the offensive line has been healthy throughout the duration throughout the duration of this period. You've seen pretty much everybody. I mean, guys have had like a day or two here, but for the most part, that's likely been, in terms of availability, your most consistent group, and that's been critical, I think, for that group. And then also, as you mentioned, in working with Coach Sperano and identifying what his expectations are. He's incredibly hands-on. They've been doing some different things in terms of the on-field work and the drills that they've been going through at this period of time. So super excited about where they are and where they have the potential to be. You really want that group to be able to continue to stay healthy going into camp. Because remember, at the start of camp just a few years ago, it was Ryan Kelly was down, and Quentin Nelson was down, and Braden Smith has certainly experienced his fair share of things as well.
That 21 training camp, that was dicey.
It really was. It really was. And with a new quarterback and all of that. So, but with those guys being the veterans that they are and having incredible leadership with guys like Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith to be able to help the other guys elevate and know what the expectation's going to be going in. And I also think, too, that from Coach Sperano, from Coach Steichen, there will be very clear direction on what the expectation is between now and the end of July when they report.
Yeah, everybody's talking so positively about the steps that Bernhard Ryman took this offseason, including Bernhard Ryman putting on more weight, tip-top NFL shape, working on his footwork, watching a boatload of tape, and getting better from the mental side of things. Will Fry's got bigger too. He got stronger. Yep. He feels better about himself, his ability to play right guard. He's certainly gotten ample opportunity to run with the ones in that regard. And I think, again, going back to Tony Sperano Jr., that unit has really seemingly, when you talk to guys, it has simplified some things. They're improving their rules, their principles, their teachings under Tony. Like I said in the offseason, after what happened last year, giving up 60 sacks and all the pressures in the quarterback carousel, let's just wipe the slate clean. Doesn't matter how we got here. The bottom line is we're here and we got to fix it. Let's not point fingers anymore. Let's start holding each other accountable. And I think it's kind of a good reset button that's been pushed along that offensive line.
And I think when you look at what Sperano was able to do in his time in New York with a group that certainly did not have the amount of investment that this group has from, draft picks and the monetary investment and all of that, Sperano is incredibly invested, obviously, in this group, and you feel really encouraged by what he was able to do in previous stops and now inheriting the quality of group that he
does.
I
also loved him in season 4 of The Sopranos. No, he plays the part too. He's a laid back, good dude.
He's so great.
He is a great guy. He knows what he's doing out there. All right, let's bust out some hook and lateral here. Big picture topics on the Colts as their offseason program comes to a close this week. We'll go around the horn a little bit. I'll present some topics to you guys. You guys toss it to one another. You toss them back to me. We'll kind of go in order here. So, Larra, I'm going to throw it to you first. Here's the lateral to you. Which position group on this Colts roster represents a deceptive camp battle once we go to Grant Park.
It's one of those that we've just kind of touched on already. I'm really heavily looking at this group of tight ends.
Yeah.
You have Mo Alley-Cox, Kylan Granson we just talked about. How is Jelani progressing back? He's had that kind of nagging hamstring issue. Where is Drew Ogletree?
Yes.
In his recovery from ACL? Because, my gosh, he was performing at an incredibly high level last year in training camp before the ACL injury for him. He's a guy who's so easy to root for. Then you have Pharaoh Brown coming in. You have Will Mallory, who was a draft pick. And Will Mallory's been somewhat limited by recovering from some things coming out of college. So that's a really intriguing group that I think has a ton of questions surrounding it when we arrive to Westfield in just a couple of weeks. And then secondary to that, I'm intrigued by the running backs, because behind Jonathan Taylor, this group that has Zach Moss, Deion Jackson, Evan Hull, Jake Funk, where are you kind of divvying that up? Because Hull is pretty unique. They each kind of have these different skill sets. Which of those are going to be coveted by this offensive scheme? Obviously Jonathan Taylor is pretty solid. You feel like Zach Moss is as well in what he was able to do late last season. But Deion Jackson has been incredibly impactful for you at certain periods. And then
versatile too. Yeah.
Very versatile, but obviously that's kind of Evan Hull's big strength as well. Coming out of Northwestern, they really liked him in the draft and invested some big draft capital. And then Jake Funk's the guy who's been around for a bit, kind of continuing to just hang around the organization. There's something they like to keep bringing him back.
Right.
So, but primary for me, it's going to be the tight end group.
Can I give you one, guys?
Sure.
Please.
How about Darius Rush?
Oh, yeah.
And Juju Brents?
Oh, yeah.
That cornerback room is wide open. The rookie corners are going to play huge roles for this defense and on special teams next season. And you look at Rush, he played heavily in college in both phases, defense and special teams. And I'm saying with Brent's not being out there, Rush he's taking advantage a little bit in terms of the time on the field. I'm not saying Brent's obviously, they drafted him for a reason where they did, right? Third-round pick. He can probably make that time up in training camp, but Darius Rush is good. He's a really good football player. And then I also say, don't forget about Darrell Baker. He's running with the ones in practice at corner. He's never started a game in the NFL, but he's back there for the time being for a reason, and he might be one of those guys you put in the back of your mind going into training camp. So that's going to be a day-to-day thing to watch for in camp. It's going to be fluid. Last year we saw it with Nick Cross and Rodney McLeod, daily battle and trying to find out which safety combinations were the best for this team going up to September. I think you're going to see that same sort of motto or that mantra at corner up at Grant Park.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Larra was saying. I'm with you, Matt, but mine is definitely the tight end crew. Kylan Granson really taking advantage of some guys being sidelined. You mentioned Jelani Woods hasn't been out there. Drew Ogletree still coming back from the ACL. Will Mallory on the sidelines. But he has really taken a big stride here in the spring. So looking forward to seeing what that tight end group looks like here when August rolls around.
All right, Larry, you got a first down. You put your nose down, lowered your shoulder. You got a first down. But unfortunately, as you were going down, you saw Casey in your rearview mirror, and you were able to just throw the ball over your head.
There was an incoming fly ball. I had to bail.
Ow! 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 We need a lateral here.
All right, Case. Anthony Richardson connected with Brashad Perriman for about a 40-yard bomb for a touchdown in practice last week. Perriman showed he still has the speed to compete in the NFL. Does Perriman have the upper hand to make the Colts roster because of his unique skill set and experience?
Yeah, so I think one of the things we have learned about Shane Steichen, the way he likes his receivers, is he likes a lot of different type of skill sets. So having a guy like Perriman, who is that guy who's averaged nearly 17 yards per catch during his career, it definitely opens the field. It definitely gives you a different kind of skill set than what you have. Think about Isaiah McKenzie and Brashad Perriman, two of the new guys they brought in. Polar opposite players. Polar opposite looks, everything about it. So I kind of like just having a unique look to that room where you can kind of do a lot of different things. I think Brashad Perriman, a guy who's been around the league for quite a while now, closing in on, I think it's 9 years in the NFL, seen a lot of different players, seen a lot of different quarterbacks, but one of the things about him is he's got that experience.
Right.
And if he could still show that speed, we were all watching that play and we all kind of did a double take like, ooh, that was Perriman, and ooh, that was Anthony Richardson. That looked pretty good. If that's a foreshadowing of something to come, that's something you want to see. So definitely I think Brashad Perriman has shown some some nice glimpses to this point in his early time here with the Colts.
And I'll say, too, I mean, going along with that, he's competing with guys like Mike Strawn. Mike Strawn, the time is now. Right? Mike Strawn, he knows it. We know it. Coaches know it. I think there's one spot left on this team at wide receiver going into camp, assuming the Colts keep 6 wideouts. And right now the Colts have several vets that have a decent amount of NFL experience going after that slot. You got Vincent Smith. He's played in the league with the Texans, the Jets, the Bucks, the Broncos. There's Malik Turner. He's been in the NFL since 2018. He's played with Seattle, Green Bay, Dallas, the Raiders, the Texans, the 49ers. These guys can play. Now, they don't have illustrious resumes, but they've played, roughly 30 to 40 games in their careers. And then you talked about Perriman, Casey. He still possesses that skill set that not everybody has. He's a burner.
Right.
And he can get over the top of a defense and provide a big shot that every offense needs. So I'm not saying, Perriman, if Perriman makes the team, I'm not saying he's going to be destined for 700 receiving yards or anything like that. But with a cannon like Richardson, in terms of what he possesses, that might be enough to keep him around if he puts together a healthy and consistent camp. And I think, too, don't forget about this, showing the willingness and the ability to play on special teams if you're Brashad Perriman.
Well, one of the things that I want to remember Marcus Johnson a couple years ago when I think it was with Phillip Rivers. Marcus Johnson didn't have a huge role in the offense, but what he did have was that deep ball ability. And there were a handful of games where it was like he was able to spark something. So when you say you aren't going to pin him in for 700 receiving yards, you don't need that. A guy like Brashad Perriman, he's not coming in to be your 1 or 2. He's just coming in and maybe he can add just a different element to the offense. A guy that maybe has, 1 or 2 big catches a month, and that's enough to just kind of bolster that offense and kind of get them rolling.
Right.
So that's kind of the vibe I look at him. When you talk about averaging 17 yards per catch over your career, that's pretty impressive numbers. So that's kind of where I look at it.
Casey, Cal, Stanford, the band is on the field. We need a lateral. Time is running out, and you just ran over a trombone player.
All right, Matt, over the weekend. One more time. That was good, Larra. All right, Matt, over the weekend, ESPN.com put out a list of their top 5 core players for each NFL team. Core defined as 5 most important players to a team. So for the Colts, the 5 were quarterback Anthony Richardson, wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., guard Quentin Nelson, defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, and linebacker Shaquille Leonard. Do you have any issues with this list, Matt?
No Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
No.
That's kind of a slight.
No Zaire Franklin. I think I do have issue with this list. For the time being, this offense is going to be centered, or not. Maybe center's not the right word, but it's going to be Jonathan Taylor centric.
Right.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's kind of the foundation, right? Yes, is the run game.
I'm hoping by the end of the season we're putting Jonathan Taylor closer to this list than right now because of what he can hopefully do for Anthony Richardson, taking a load off his shoulders as a rookie quarterback. But, you look at it, Buckner's a top 5 player at his position in the NFL. There's no question that defense changes when he's not out there. Same thing for Shaquille Leonard, right? When he's healthy, the defense is just different with their takeaway ability. But I think in order for the Colts to have a big year, follow me on this, I think in order for the Colts to rebound from 4-12-1, I think that list needs to read as follows. Richardson, Pittman, Bernard Ryman, DeForest Buckner, and Kwity Paye.
Okay.
Because of the positions they play.
All right. Yeah.
And what they could do at those premium positions.
Yeah.
So I think the list is okay for now, but if the Colts have big-time success this season, they need to have great years from their premium players. Quarterback, wide receiver 1, left tackle needs to be solidified, and then defensive end. It's about getting after the quarterback and protecting the quarterback, and then either Buckner or your top cornerback. And since the Colts are pretty much in flux right now in the secondary, it would probably read Buckner. So does anybody disagree?
No.
With how I viewed that.
No, I agree. I mean, I think you make a case with Jonathan Taylor and Pittman. I think that is one. If you're looking at the offense, I think, as Larra said, it's going to be very Jonathan Taylor-centric. So I think he is, kind of, if he's if Anthony Richardson is able to take that step, having Jonathan Taylor in your back pocket is not a bad thing to have. I think Jonathan Taylor having a big year is definitely key for this offense. But those would be the only, maybe not issues I would have, but kind of the 1A, 1B if I were to change that list.
I mean, you watch the playoffs the last 2 years.
Exactly.
I mean, it's pretty evident how those teams got there. I mean, you look at the Bengals. They're getting after the quarterback. Yeah. They're not necessarily protecting the quarterback all that well.
True.
But certainly they've got playmakers on the outside. They've got great wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. If the Colts want to change that list, or I should say if they want to be in a position to make the playoffs and have success in the postseason, that list needs to change in terms of their 5 most impactful players for next season. If we're talking about the 2024 list, maybe it needs to change a little bit for the Colts to rebound from last year. All right, that's our football discussion for the week. Let's get random. Casey, I think you're up this week.
I am. So this one's not super random, but it's timely. With the guys going away for their quote-unquote summer break, as we mentioned earlier, if you were to take a trip and money was not an issue at all, you could go anywhere you would like for a week, 2 weeks, where would you go? So for me, if I can start this off, I would go to
I was going to be gone 5 weeks like these guys?
Yeah, 5 weeks. So you can pick.
I can train anywhere, huh?
Yes, you can train wherever you go.
I like it.
For me, I would go to Iceland to the Blue Lagoon geothermal spa. Have you seen this?
What?
So I have some friends. I have some friends.
I'm glad you're starting this, though, because this is.
I've got friends who have gone, and they take
also,
pictures.
Also, this is pretty random.
They're in like this.
Yeah.
It's like a lake thing, and the water. It's like.
It's in a lake thing or something. Some lake stuff.
So they've got some sort of power from these plants around. Like these power plants around add this sort of geothermal spa. So the water stays at about like 100 degrees. So it's almost like a hot tub. And you can see the northern lights above you, and it's like foggy all around. The pictures are awesome. The water kind of looks a little milky, so that's the only thing that's a little weird. But I've heard nothing but wonderful things about this, and that's where I would go. I don't know. I've seen pictures, and I'm like, I want to go there. I've heard Iceland's great, but those pictures, that's where I would go. And very strange.
All
I
right.
know.
So there's this spot that I really wanted to go. We talked about this for our honeymoon, and then we got married within the pandemic, and obviously didn't make it happen, and then realized we don't have the money at that point in time to make it possible. But it's like this island. It's called Seychelles.
Okay.
And there's like coral reefs, and it's just like these just ridiculous, like amazing beaches and amazing wildlife, but it's like pretty secluded and exclusive, and all of that's exactly where I'm going. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up real quick, and I'm gonna show you guys.
All right.
So this is terrible for
Casey,
radio.
you do strike me as a hot tub guy.
Oh, I love a hot tub. I mean that is like a go-to for me. If there's a hot tub, I'm in.
So like, but if you.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So if you want to look
It's
it
like
up
a
for
movie.
yourself, it is Seychelles. But this is
And
what
where
you're
is
looking
this?
at. It's like
the Mediterranean?
it's Indian Ocean off East Africa.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Takes forever to get to. It's pretty secluded. So all I know about it is that I can be.
I think you're just making this up, by the way.
I'm not.
Pretty sure
I'm
it doesn't
not.
exist.
Here's what I know.
Is that
all
Neverland
that's
from Peter
required
Pan?
is all
Pretty
that's
sure it's
required
Neverland.
of me is to be in a bathing suit in the sand, swimming in like crystal clear blue waters with like amazing food, and you can go like snorkeling and go see the coral reef, and just like there's tortoise around, and that's all I really need. How about you?
Feeling good, Lewis.
Yeah, now that we've gotten through
Looking
this
good,
geography
Billy
lesson,
Ray.
what's up? What do you have?
I don't have a good answer because, I don't know, maybe I just don't have a lot of time to think about it, but I do want to go skiing. I love skiing.
Like snow skiing?
Yes, I love
you
snow
really?
skiing, yes. I probably haven't been in close to a decade.
You do strike me as an après ski kind of man.
Yeah, right, yeah. I'm going down doing the moguls and breaking legs. Yeah.
I'm picturing Matt in like the Dumb and Dumber, like their ski suits. Like,
Put us down for 4 in case we want seconds. Yeah, but I mean, there's something so peaceful about being in the mountains and 12 feet of snow on the ground, and then there's another
Where
6
are you
inches.
finding this in June?
Well, it'd have to be like February or March.
Okay.
But I do very much enjoy skiing, but haven't had the opportunity to go because of family and stuff like that schedule. So yeah, maybe I go to Aspen.
Okay.
Where is it? Where the beer flows like
the
wine?
beer flows like wine. The salmon of Capistrano. So Casey's going into some fjord with a hot tub.
Yes.
Samsonite. I was way off.
And Larra's going to Neverland, and I'm going skiing.
Seychelles.
Aren't we a great bunch?
Seychelles is an archipelago. So here you go.
It sounds like she's making
Here
it
you
up.
go.
Seychelles?
Seychelles. It's an archipelago of 115 islands in the Indian Ocean.
It's a geography
home to
lesson
numerous
here.
beaches, coral reefs, and nature reserves, as well as rare animals such as giant Aldabra tortoises.
Oh, don't get bitten by one of those. I'm allergic. All right, speaking of summer vacation, now for you, all of us, money is an object for our summer vacation.
100%.
Yeah.
Larra, what do you got going on the rest of the summer, vacation-wise? You're going to be out and about as everybody else
is. Yeah,
is.
we've got a couple little trips planned. So we're actually going with my in-laws and spending a couple days in Brown County next week.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we're going to spend some time with them. We are going up to, over the 4th of July holiday, Northwoods, Wisconsin.
Yes.
With a group of friends. And then
take the bug spray.
Right before training camp, we're going to go up to Toronto. So
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. So so it's kind of a couple of little 3 and 5 day trips that are sprinkled out over the course of the next few weeks.
Breaks it up really well.
Yeah. Casey,
Very
what about
much.
you, sir?
We're probably going to hit up Holiday World a couple times.
Take the kids.
The kids love the water
Free
park
soft
there.
drinks.
A lot of bees around the free. If you think about it.
A lot of what?
A lot of bees around the soft drinks. So we tell the kids they're free soft drinks and we'll go get them because they're always flying around. So yes, free soft drink, free sunscreen. Yeah, we love.
Is Holiday World aware of this bee problem?
I would assume. I mean, you put a bunch of carbonated drinks with no offense.
Is it like the sugar?
Do you think the
all
most
of that
famous son of Santa Claus, Indiana, gets himself to Holiday World very often? Jay Cutler making an appearance, taking
He's
the
the Grand
Cutler
Marshal
kids?
every 4th of July.
You know?
He seems to be pretty big time, so I don't know if he has time for his whole hometown.
Yep.
But I don't know. But yeah, we'll do Holiday World probably a couple times.
You don't think he's splashing safari over there? You know?
he gets free sunscreen, old Jay. Little fair skin there.
What was his? Kristen
Cavallari.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever made a family trip there. They went back home to.
Well, she's a Midwest gal. She grew up in Chicago.
That's
and
true.
all of
That
that.
is
So she's
true.
from Illinois.
Let's go down to Santa Claus land.
What about you, Mayte?
Going to Florida next week.
Woo!
There you go.
Going down to Florida and taking the kiddos. So doing some beach and pool and sun and the whole excursion there. Hey, shameless plug, I should say, our Person Behind the Pads podcast comes back this
good
week.
one.
And this week, leading up to Father's Day this weekend, DeForest Buckner is joined by J.J. Stankovitz, and they talk about being dads and Buck being a father in the NFL and the challenge of battling family life and football year-round, being a stud defensive tackle in the National Football League. And then Friday, the last word is back. Jeffrey and I will recap what we saw this week in the minicamp and put a bow on the off-season workout program for the Colts heading into summer vacation. So, again, we were jam-packed, as always, today. Larra Overton and Casey Vallier. No J.J. Stankovitz. He's back next week. I'll be out, so we got this little bit of a bullpen rotation of middle reliever arms at you the rest of the summertime.
It's like a relay race, just passing the baton.
Passing the baton.
There you
Stick.
go.
Work
But
the stick.
we got you every Tuesday between now and the end of July when we get back to football activity up at Grand Park. Again, for Larra and Casey, I'm Matt Taylor. Be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, we got you covered here on the content on the Colts Audio Network, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday here on the official Colts podcast brought to you by WinBet. Have a great rest of your week. So long.